Thanks to my bookie for supporting the Larry Miller Show. My bookie has better bonuses. Excuse me. Thanks to my bookie for supporting the Larry Miller Show. My bookie has better bonuses and more prop bets than any other sports book, period. This year, they're hosting the first online handicapping super contest. First place is guaranteed to win at least $100,000, and it only costs $100 to enter. Visit MyBookie online today and use the promo code Larry. Visit MyBookie online today and use the promo code Larry when creating your account to claim the bonus. And now, live from Level 5 Productions on the island of Milleronia, it's the Larry Miller Show. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and everyone who just can't meet people in the supermarket. Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Larry Miller Show. I'm Larry Miller, but in a way, aren't we all? And boy, oh boy, it was hot today again. We're back on the mainland, and Colonel Jeff and I are here with the doggies in our studio at stately Miller Manor. And they're all right. Ozzy is lying down on the floor just, you know what? As you know, I hope you know, as you ought to know, doggies are just adorable no matter what they do. They can be facing the other way, your way, that way, this way. It doesn't matter. They're on the floor, and they got the paws in front of them, and they're as happy as clams. But you know what? So is Ozzy. And when we pass by, either the Colonel or I pass by, or just to reach to get something, a file from one of the, the top secret Larry Miller Show file cabinets, and the Ozzy might look up and just blink a couple of times, and then he puts his head back down, and he's doing his job. But it's nice to be, despite the heat, it's nice to be home. It's always nice to be home. And as usual, that music makes me happy. That's the Richie McLean Orchestra and the Dorothy Provine Dancers, featuring boy tenor Brad Simpson asking the musical question, if I'm going in front of my city council to convince them to build a track to race horses and greyhounds, do I have to put on a dog and pony show? Good one, Brad. The Colonel and I both agreed it's smart and funny. That's a darn good one. And, I mean, come on, folks. If I'm going in front of my city council to build a track for racehorses and greyhounds, do I have to put on a dog and pony show? Well, Brad, number one, yes, you do. And I'm afraid you have to. I mean, that's a pretty big expense, and they would want you to put on a dog and pony show. And by the way, neither Colonel Jeff nor I knew what a dog and pony show was. Now, I've heard that phrase, and so was he. You put on a dog and pony show. But Colonel Jeff looked it up just now on the computer. The term was originally used in the United States, in our country, to refer to small traveling circuses. But now it's come to mean, at this point in history, it means overstaged, highly promoted, junk, I guess. And but I'll tell you what, it made perfect sense. I didn't know what it was, and Colonel Jeff didn't know what it was, but when he found that on the internet there, we both thought, well, how do you like that? Sure, that makes sense. I mean, a dog and pony show that here in America, from 1780 to 1820, 1840, everything, and up into the 20th century, 1903, 1911, you can just see that a lot of small promoters, not the big guys, not, Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, and giant shows like that, but some of the small promoters, which is just essentially a guy who wants to put on a show, would go around America, and they would have, 11 or 12 employees, and they didn't have lions, and they didn't have giraffes, and they didn't have elephants. They had a couple of horses and a couple of dogs. And they put on a dog and pony show. And they would teach the dogs, I guess you can teach the dogs to run in a circle and jump up and catch a ball, and do a little, somebody playing with a bass drum, and, as I said to Colonel Jeff, it's not bad for a penny. If you want to take the kids somewhere in farm country where you make a living with a farm, and one of these shows come by, why not? Take the kids of a Saturday or Sunday down to, the dog and pony show. Anyway, Brad, good one. And so the answer to the question is, if I'm going in front of my city council to build a track for racehorses and greyhounds, do I have to put on a dog and pony show? Yes, Brad, you do. I wanted to say a quick word about my friend, Richie McLean. He just passed on a couple of weeks ago. We went to, junior high and high school together, and we were friends. And he was God bless him, a great guy, a great athlete. I mean, he was all state in New York, and also I think it was like an all-American wrestler, and boy, just tough, and had a great sense of humor and a great laugh, and strong. And his dad, by the way, Ed McLean, he was known as Big Ed McLean. I think you have to be when you're 6'5", and, really powerfully built. And Ed McLean was a heroic fighter pilot in World War II, and he was really quite a guy. And I like the whole family, and I just read this note that his sister Peggy put out about, his passing. And I'm sorry to hear that. And I thought, what nicer time than, our podcast here to say, God bless you, Richie, and I sure always liked you, and I always will. And by my bookie. That's right. I just mentioned this before at the beginning of the show, at the top of the show, that, you know what? Come on. Look, folks, it's the start of a new football season. A lot has changed. For example, Le'Veon Bell is with the Jets, and I'm a big Jets fan, and they're not doing well. And they won 2 games now, I think, against the Dolphins. And that may be it for the season, but you know what? You are who you are. I'm a Jets fan. Jets, 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 Jets. And if you've got Antonio Brown on your fantasy team, things change 17 times a day. The one thing that hasn't changed, where I'm putting my money down on all the games, my bookie is the place to bet on football every weekend. That's why my bookie is always the right play. You bet, you win, they pay. With my bookie, you can bet live, in-game, on every NFL game. They've got the most rewarding player perks in the business. For you fantasy football folks, you can even bet the over-under on how many fantasy points a player will score each game. Up to $1,000 first deposit bonus. Double your first deposit. Use promo code Larry to activate the offer. Visit MyBookie online today. That's MYBOOKIE. And don't forget to use the promo code Larry when creating your account to claim the bonus. Bet, win, get paid. And that brings me to my favorite part of the show, the joke of the week. Well, I do love this very much, and so does Colonel Jeff. Nothing better than, sending a joke out to folks and helping them move it around, see if they like it. And this is a good one, too, that we both like this. There's a a woman on the plane in the economy section. She's got her baby in her arms and holding the baby and, just shaking him, just shuckling him to sleep. And all of a sudden, a fellow leans over from the seat behind her and stands up and leans right over and says, "Excuse me, ma'am, I have to tell you, that's the ugliest baby I've ever seen in my life." And she's horrified and shocked. How dare you say something like that? And what do you go? Look, lady, I'm just trying to let you know, I've seen ugly babies before. I guess everyone has, but not like this one. This is the ugliest kid in the history of the world. And she's just really angry and buzzes for the flight attendant, who comes by, and a nice young lady, and she says, "I am sorry, I've just been insulted by that man behind me so badly, and I'm frankly horrified and offended. I demand to be moved to another seat, please, now." And the flight attendant says, "Believe me, I understand, miss, but I have to tell you, as you can see, that the flight is sold out. There are no seats that are free, and unless you can convince someone, I don't know exactly how to change seats with you." And the woman is, "Oh, well," and the attendant says, "I'll tell you what, though. First of all, just to make you feel a little better, I'll give you anything you want. Any food we have here for free, any drinks you want for free, and if you like, I'll bring you a banana for your monkey." I hope you like that. We did here. That was a laugh out loud joke for Colonel Jeff and me, and I think Ozzy, even though he's kind of asleep on this studio floor here, I think even he had a little doggy chuckle. But that's a good joke, and as always, spread it around if you want. Tell your friends at work or friends anywhere or your family. And that's a pretty good joke. There's nothing better than keeping a good joke alive. And that brings me to my second favorite part of the show, the Poetry Corner. Love that string quartet, and it's just right for a good poem. And this is one by the great William Blake. He was an English poet lived from 1757 to 1827, and was largely unrecognized during his lifetime, but later became very highly regarded for his expressiveness and the philosophical nature of his work. And he was also a painter and a printmaker. And I want to underline that on printmaker, because that's one of those things that I didn't know what it was. I said to Colonel Jeff, "What is a printmaker? What's a print of a thing of it? This or?" But you know what? It feels like the right thing to say. He's a printmaker. And Blake, God bless him, was great at all these things. And here's one of his poems called "Nurse's Song, Innocence" by William Blake. When voices of children are heard on the green and laughing is heard on the hill, my heart is at rest within my breast, and everything else is still. Then come home, my children, the sun is gone down, and the dews of night arise. Come, come, leave off play, and let us away, till the morning appears in the skies. No, no, let us play, for it is yet day, and we cannot go to sleep. Besides, in the sky the little birds fly, and the hills are all covered with sheep. Well, well, go and play till the light fades away, and then go home to bed. The little ones leaped and shouted and laughed, and all the hills echoed. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that nice? William Blake. I hope you like that one, folks. And that brings me to my third favorite part of the show, MMM, the Magic Movie Moment. And this one is a terrific movie. I hope you like it or soon will. It's a mad, 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 mad world. Made in 1963, directed by, Stanley Kramer. And what a cast. Spencer Tracy, William Demarest, Milton Berle, Jonathan Winters, Buddy Hackett, Mickey Rooney, Phil Silvers, Ethel Merman, Dorothy Provine, who I mentioned before, Edie Adams, Sid Caesar, Jim Backus, and the great Dick Shawn. Wow. It's a terrific movie, and Colonel Jeff and I had the same experience. We were chatting about this, before the show, and he didn't understand, and neither did I. I saw it when it came out. I saw it in the theaters when it came out. I think, by the way, our class went to see it, which was, a great class thing to do, because, what's the other choice? You're going to, stay in school and sit there just kind of tapping the desk. But this is a terrific movie, folks. And so many great people in it. And it begins with a scene that, with a character named Smiler Grogan. There are a lot of great names in this movie, by the way, for the characters. But he roars past everyone in his car. This is before they've even met. They don't know anything. No one knows, and we don't know as the audience. And he slides by and, crashes, rolls down a hill. And, it's a terrible, terrible accident. Rocky and Sandy and just, he rolls down and all the characters are just behind him in their own cars, different cars. Oh, Lord, have you seen that? Look what happened there. And they park their cars and all run down the hill as fast as they can, which was not very fast. And they get to him and he tells them all the story of the movie. He says, there's a treasure and it's tremendous money and jewels and whatever he says. And it's out in California and it's in this park under the Big W. And we don't know what that is yet. And then you look at each other, the Big W, what's that? And then he dies. The old man dies from his wounds and one of his legs shoots out in agony and there's an old wooden bucket there and yes, he hits the bucket there and the bucket goes down the hill. And then with real, sadness and sorrow, someone in the cast says, he kicked the bucket. Now, that may not sound like the greatest joke you've ever heard, but it is. In that moment in the movie there, and to see these people, that the rest of the cast just start out on this journey, on their mission to get this treasure under the Big W in this park. But boy, you know what? I remember as a kid and as an adult too, seeing that and thinking, what a brass set you have to put that in the movie and then have someone underline it. He kicked the bucket. And they're not joking when they say it. They're being very serious. Oh, he kicked the bucket. And off goes the movie. It's a terrific movie, folks. Oh, boy. And now I want to see it again. It's been a long while. And the same for Colonel Jeff. I've seen it many times. I guess 10 or 12 times. But I'd like to see it again. I hope you feel the same way. And if you've never seen it, see it. Get it. Find a copy somewhere on the internet, in a store, whatever you do. Just do it. And believe me, you'll be glad you did. Well, folks, you know what? My son is home tonight. And that doesn't sound like much, but to a parent, it really is. Now, this is our son who was, for 5 years, a sergeant in the Marines and 3 deployments. And he's going to a school that the Marines recommended for everything in planes and fixing things, and he can do anything, and he does that. He's up at 5:45 every morning, and I hear him. Of course, I always want to say hello and goodbye and good morning, and he jumps in the shower and just gets dressed for school, and then he'll go out into the kitchen and have a small bite. He doesn't care for much, just a little cereal maybe. And that's what he'll do tomorrow again. And at night, he has that job he had over the summer of, well, in pushing wheelchairs for people at the Hollywood Bowl. And those shows go late. So he'll get back home at 12 or 1 or 2. And then he's a tough young fella. But you know what? That's enough for the day. And so he'll come back home and he'll say hi. And I'm always up waiting for him. And because I love him. He's my kid and the other one is in school. And boy, oh boy. And then he'll, same thing, get dressed, wash up, take his stuff off, and even hit the shower just to wipe the day of school off him. And then put on his pajamas. Get in bed and hit it, but then that's up again at 5:45, and that's as you know, that's a beefy day. And I said to him, I saw him early, and my wife made him a nice dinner here at Stately Miller Manor, and I said, "Oh, it's good to see you," and we had a small talk, and I said, "Well, I'm doing the podcast tonight, and Colonel Jeff is coming by," and he said, "That's great." And I said, "Do you have to work tonight?" And he said, "No, not tonight, thank God." And he's just saying that because he's a tough young fella. But it is nice. It's nice for him and it's nice for us. He's upstairs now in his room and he's watching something on a big screen computer and he's had a good dinner. And I'll go see him after we finish recording our show here. And I think Ozzy will come up with me. Ozzy loves sleeping with him there. He just hops up onto his bed, plops down, and that's it. Good luck trying to get him out of there. And so that'll be that. But it means a lot. Our other young fella is, as I mentioned, off in school and college. And I miss him too. But tonight, I get to go into my son in his old bedroom and smile and say, "All right, well, have a good night's sleep. I love you." And he says, "Okay, you too, Dad." And that means everything in the world. There's nothing that matters more than, well, what some people would call the small things, but that's not a small thing to me, and I'll bet it's not to you either. And by the way, even on a night when it's a little hot here, and Colonel Jeff and I decided when he got here to the studio, here at the Manor House, and we both realized we need an air conditioner here in the studio. Now, that's my wife's office is next to our recording studio here, and there's a door open because she got an air conditioner that my son put in. And he can do all sorts of things. And the thing is with that air conditioner, it doesn't get in here. Now, that's the way it goes. You can't change that. But when we turn it on as we're doing our prep work for the show, it doesn't get in here. So every so often you just get up. I stood up today before we recorded just to get one more feel of it by standing in front of it in my wife's office next to us. But it's amazing. It's like there's a Star Trek beam holding things apart, and that doesn't get in here. And so I went in to turn it off, and the Colonel and I agreed, yeah, we need an air conditioner here in the studio. And I said, we could do that, my son can put this one in. He can put a new one in, and well, he'll have to chop through the house. He'll have to, go through the wall and put it in. But that's a full wall, That's a real wall. That wall isn't kidding. And he would have to take all his tools and just chomp and whack through it, put it in, and make sure there's the right electrical outlet there. Well, he can change that stuff too. And that sounded like a lot to go through. And then the Colonel looked at it, and I looked at each other and just said, Yeah, but we need an air conditioner here in the studio. Well, wait a minute. Is that enough reason to make our son go through that and we can go out and buy one? And we looked at each other again and said, yeah, I mean, sure it is. Who doesn't want that? Is that not a big enough reason? We want one. It's hot in here and we can make it cooler. But that's another thing no, it's not small, but it's nice to have. Sure would be nice. And I'll let you know along the way what we decide. The little things can be huge sometimes. 2 nights ago, I went to Ralph's, our local market here in the mainland. And, boy, those are big. I know every Ralph's up and down the boulevard. And we used to take the kids there, my wife and I, to different Ralph's. And we knew them all. There's Brown Ralph's, Elevator Ralph's, and we knew them all. That may not sound so exciting, but it was to us, and the kids loved it. Which one do you want to go to today? And each one is another mile or two apart from the other one. But that's what I can do. 2-3 times a week, I go over to the local Ralph's here, which is, just a mile away, and get some things. It's not fancy things, but even if it's night, they close at 10, I think, and reopen at 6 or 7 in the morning. But I still like to go there. Do we have enough milk? I'll get another milk. Do we have enough watermelon? I like watermelon, and so does my kid, and, so does my wife, and so does Jeff, by the way. And, but so let's get some watermelon. And my wife said to me, if you remember, get some oregano, too. All right, I need some of that. And just the chopped kind, doesn't have to be fancy, just a dispenser of oregano, a little bottle of oregano. Now I've got to get that because I want to get her what she needs. If that makes her smile, that's a little thing. That's a big thing. So I go to Ralph's to get just a couple of things and some oregano. And I get there. I know everyone there. And by the way, store's closing at 10 now. It's about 9:20. And I saw a couple of the folks in the fruit section. I said, oh, hi, and oh, hi. And I said, do me a favor, what aisle are the spices on? I need some oregano. And the young woman smiled and said, and just nodded at her friend there, a guy from the fruit section. And he said, aisle 16. And she kind of smiled and teasing and said, I agree, aisle 16. And I said, you know what? I agree too. And we smiled at each other and I headed off and got a couple of things. But now it's almost the store is almost closing. And I went down from the back part of it. I turned up aisle 16, which is a pretty long aisle. This is a big store. And as soon as I turned down, remember it's late at night. There's no one there, but there's a young woman who's looking at the copper-coated pans hanging on one part of the section. Now, I don't know about you, I don't know all the other fellows out there, but I always, even since I was, an adolescent, I never wanted to, I don't want to embarrass anyone or myself or the young woman. We're all alone back there, so I just, I'm not going to look at her, and I'm just kind of nod and smile as I walk past her with my cart, and her cart was just enough room to get past her, but all right. And she's looking at, I thought to myself, how much do you need to look at pans? At 9:35 at night, they're copper pans. So one is square, one is round. Just pick a pan. But that's inside. Obviously, I don't care. Good luck to her. But I went past her, and now I'm looking for of course, the spices, and I can't find them. I go up the whole aisle, and I know this store pretty well. I don't shop in the spice section that much or at all. I didn't even know where it was. But I got to the end there, and I'm thinking, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't see any spice section or spices, anything. And I turned around, and there's still no one in the aisle, and the woman is still there looking at the copper pans. And I thought, I can't just go back again. And then I thought, that's ridiculous. I came here and want to get the oregano for my wife. And, well, everyone said, the two folks said it was aisle 16. Well, I'm in aisle 16. And that's not silly. And so I went back with my cart towards this woman who's still looking at the pans. And I'm looking at looking and looking, couldn't find it. And I got back to the woman and passed her again and just got to the last third of the aisle, couldn't find it. I thought, okay, this is ridiculous. I can't go back again. But I did. I turned around, I turned the cart again and went back past her. I don't want to embarrass her, myself. She seemed fine. I mean, she looking at pans. But I went back again for a third time now and couldn't find the spices. Couldn't find any spice. And oregano, as you know, isn't that hard to find. In fact, it's not hard at all. And come on. And I went back that third time down the aisle and I said, okay, this is silly. I think I looked pretty thoroughly there. And this is ridiculous. And then I saw one of the employees, another one, an extra one, not the first two I asked. I said, do you know where the spices are, what aisle the spices are? I need some oregano. And he immediately said, 17. And I said, 17. All right, good. Which, as you know, is, of course, right next to 16. But I did, all right, thank you. And now it's, quarter to 10, 10 to 10. All right, though, so I just go the other 8 feet or so to the next aisle, 17. Turn down the aisle there. She's there. Same woman. And I see her halfway down the long aisle, and I just, come on. Didn't go back and look at the pans. Why is anything? And I said, this is ridiculous. But I'm looking for the spices. I've got to get my wife some oregano because that's what she asked for and that's what she wants. And I want to make her smile when I get back to the house. Oh, good. Thanks, honey. And so I went back down the aisle and she's standing there, this woman examining something else like macaroni. I don't know what there is to examining all these things. Can you not examine? Can you just pick one? Store's almost closed. And I can't, but I'm looking, can't find one. Can't find the spices. Go past her again, another 30 feet, 50 feet, and then back to the end of the aisle and said, all right, this is idiotic. This is, I can't, but I did. I turned around again. I'm going to get that oregano. And I went past her again the second time on 17. And now I would have hit her cart if it was blocking me. And I wasn't blocking me. She's examining the mac and cheese. And again, I don't know what there is to examine, but she is. And then then halfway down the aisle, just past that, I found it. There was the spice section. The second guy was right. It wasn't 17. And I stood there and said, whoo, oh, inside, obviously. You don't want to make sounds like that in public. But I looked and found that there were 2 or 3 different major brands that you know and I know. I think McCormick's is one of them. But then I saw there's oregano. And I thought to myself, oh, that looks pretty good. That's a bottle of oregano. And I thought, well, let me just look through the sections and see if I find a better one. But I immediately said, not tonight. It's time to go. Time to leave this woman alone and go to the checkout, which I did. I took the oregano, just put it in the cart there. Oh, I think I held it. Just to make sure it didn't jump out and escape. And I got to the checkout counter and again, I know everyone there and they know me. And I would smile at everyone, all right, and just put the 6 or 7 items I got, including the oregano, on the little mat that goes along and takes it toward the cashier. And whew, I let out a breath. All right, I did it. Mission accomplished. And with a smile, I just looked behind me on the aisle. There she is! Again! Same woman behind me on the aisle. The checkout aisle. And right by, how could this be? It's never mind unlikely. It's almost not possible. What are we doing? What are you doing? Why am I, what? And at that point, and I don't know about you, well, at that point I thought to myself, well, I might as well look at her now, as long as it's gone this far. 3 passes in the aisle 16, 2 passes in aisle 17, with no one around, completely empty, and now she's behind me on the checkout line. Well, I might as well look. I don't mean to meet her. I mean, not smile and, hi, how are you? Good evening. No, I mean, just a glance at her, say, well, and she was, well, God bless her, very pretty, and she's wearing a tank top. And as my dad used to say, God bless her, a healthy kid. And I just looked at her, and that's fine. And then the cashier had to call me back, get my attention. Mr. Miller? And all right. And he put the one bag in my cart, and I just, left the cart and started walking toward the escalators. Just you shake your head and smile at yourself. And why not? Because it's a fun moment. It's a funny moment in life. And how often does that kind of thing happen to you? And I drove home and walked in, and I saw my wife sitting down there and doing something on the computer in her office with the air conditioner on. And I walked in with a little bag there, and I said, hi. And she said, hi. And I took out a little bottle of oregano and said, got it. And she smiled and said, oh, good. Thanks, honey. And that's what I wanted. And that's what I got. And I hope that's what you get too. We know the same things, folks. You know it and I know it. Homer is Homer and Pluto is a planet. So remember, folks, as always, if you walked out of bed today and had a job to go to and a home to come back to and someone there who cares about you, folks, the game's over and you've won. Always remember that, no matter what you need in the market. We'll see you here next time.